Hey everyone, Afrodo Reviews here, bringing you another book to determine, is it worth reading over second breakfast? Or does it deserve the fiery pits of Mount Doom? So let's decide. So today, it's not really a book, so to speak. I mean, yeah, it does have book in the name, but this is a medium that is often, argued in terms of how much literature it actually qualifies as. I personally think comic books count perfectly fine within those novel or literature kind of thing. I do agree that there is some argument to be had that they may not be counting as literature, but count as art, like Mona Lisa kind of art, not the novel kind of art. That being said, I do believe they still qualify within the terms of books and what can be reviewed as books. I love comic books. I would collect them more often, but they're much more expensive than novels. So I already showed off a bit of my comic book collection in my bookshelf tour, but you guys gotta get the idea. It's grown a bit, but anyways, that's not the point. So for this A to Z horror challenge, I had downloaded a series of free horror anthologies on my phone for this Kindle Unlimited app. And so, because I wanted to be able to read a bunch of short stories, but I just want to make sure I have every genre possible so I can reach them, as opposed to the ones I have maybe just being contained to a certain amount. And I found this one called The Chilling Archives of Horror Comics. Haunted Horror Comics Your Mother Warned You About. We're talking 1950s contraband horror comics. How sexy is that sentence? Hot. Okay, so I thought, this would be fun to do. Let's see what 1950s had an idea for horror. I want to tell you guys I was prepared, but I wasn't. So I thought it would be fun to go through them here on the channel and just talk about what I read. So without further ado, we'll start. Since this isn't going to be about a book, I'm not going to go in my normal style. I'm mostly just going to go as I feel fit. Honestly, I didn't even write a script for this. This is all off the top of my head. Whereas all the other times I at least write a script so I know the basics of what I'm talking about. So if it seems a little more unfocused than normal, that's why. The first tale, Goodbye World. And this one sets the scene pretty well. Okay, so it starts with this ominous opening. All of humanity felt the cold breath of disaster, could smell the fetid stench of the pit opening beneath them. Even the atom bomb, with all its terrors, was as a child's bauble compared to the dreadful fate that awaited the world with the coming of the Harpies. Yeah, right off the bat, it really doesn't sound that horrible. I mean, the obviously modern interpretation, and being a big fantasy fan myself, Harpies aren't really what most people would consider world-ending. So in this comic, it begins with the arrival of hordes of locusts that swarm the planet and eat every crop. So basically the planet struggles to do that. Apparently, it briefly mentions that locusts are eating actual people, not just crops. Right here it says, today it is reported that new swarms of locusts attacked the Ukraine. They eat everything. So it's weird. So, in this comic, they quickly band together in a worldwide effort, create this amazing pesticide that will instantly kill most locusts while leaving the plants unharmed. Then, using an international air force, drop this pesticide all over the planet. We get a brief stint to this guy, who is named Pete Martin, who is just a random journalist who talks. And he talks with his wife. I think it's his wife anyways. Never actually clarifies, but anyways, basically this young journalist reporting on the events. So then we cut back to the locust, the locusts are emitting a shrill sound, almost as if they were calling for help. I mean, to me, that just sort of sounds like they're dying. But I guess. No, it turns out, no, they're actually emitting a sound that goes into space because they're aliens and they're calling to their alien cousins, the harpies. Oh no, their brethren, their small brethren, the harpies. So the harpies take flight, fly through space, come to Earth, and begin to attack people. And I mean, like, it's so weird because, like, it doesn't show them attacking with any arms or weapons or anything like that. They just swoop in, start picking people up, and then dropping them. That's how they take over the world. You don't see anyone fighting back. Like, Pete Martin even briefly shows up to say, "I'm afraid the story that I'm writing might be about the end of the world." So, yeah, are we just accepting that the Harpies won? Because I feel like these guys aren't that formidable. They don't look that dangerous. They don't seem that dangerous. We don't see them, like, taking out tanks. We don't see them taking down fighter planes. This is in 1953. We had means to fight back against a mostly aerial force by then.
In our armor! You gotta take them down! Here they come! 2 o'clock!
But yeah, no. After a few days, humanity is killed in the millions because, they can't stop them. So they decide to take Pete Martin, this random journalist that has had no significance to the story other than briefly narrating the events, and stick him in a pod of sorts and sending him to the Arctic because it seems these harpies can't stand cold weather. So they take him and his wife and stick him in there and tell him to go repopulate the Earth and save the human race. I guess they didn't know about the 5,500 rule back then. I hope. Because, they're going to need more than 2 people to repopulate the human race.
To completely avoid the consequences of inbreeding, a founding group needs to have enough people so that, genetically speaking, it's basically as diverse as the original group.
But anyways, they pilot them there. And shortly after arrival, his wife just immediately starts going yellow, and he doesn't see this as a worrying sign. As it turns out, his wife is actually a harpy who's been in disguise this whole time, and she kills him. And I want to question the logic there, because I get the idea of planting spies around the world just in case humanity did try a one last ditch effort to save themselves. But can you imagine the sheer foresight it would take to plant a random harpy with a random journalist who's had no who is just a random journalist? He's not a White House reporter or anything like that, and just so happens to be the guy chosen to send off to become the new Adam with Adam and Eve, while also being the woman chosen with him. Because, like, that's just an amazing coincidence in my mind. But yeah, that's the end of the story. So that's 6 out of 10. I mean, it's kind of stupid, but it's stupid in such that funny way that I enjoyed reading it almost the entire time. So yeah, that's what 1950s. That's our start here.